how to put English on the basketball.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of With the English Podcast, episode 14 with myself and Sam as usual. And today we have a special guest from the NBA UK community, Matt Elvy of Go On My Sons, but also formerly known as Suns Fan UK until he had a Barney with Elon Musk. How you doing, Matt?
Hello. Yeah, good. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me on.
That's all right. I just mentioned the Elon Musk thing. What actually happened with your older kid?
I never actually got a real answer. It was just the automated response. Because for anyone that follows me, you'll see that I don't try to argue with people. I try to keep it pretty sane
No, yeah, you seem pretty clean, yeah.
and nice on there. So I think what may have happened is I hit 1,000 followers. I was about 1,030 something, and
Oh,
obviously at that point, under Twitter rules, if you're getting enough views, you can start earning money. I wasn't getting that many views, but I think they run bots on the system to see if these accounts are legit. And my old logo had the sun's sunburst in it. And that's the only thing that I can think is that there's a copyright strike against it.
interesting.
So yeah, I appealed, and the message I got back was no explanation, just we've reviewed and we've decided to close your account indefinitely. So
That's harsh.
I think deep
yeah,
down you were trolling people in direct messages maybe and doing some Suns
I'm awful.
propaganda.
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally, I'm threatening people to vote for the guys in the All-Star game and stuff like that.
Yeah. No.
Yeah,
But yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah, it was.
Go on my sons is the new account.
Yeah, so
Um
that came from during lockdown. We were doing Instagram Live, so I was meeting my followers to talk to them about, how they got into the Suns and a
mhm.
couple of other little challenges and things like that on there. And Green Release UK, he designed the logo for me. And I thought Americans may not get the reference, but obviously for us in the UK, we know that it means "Go on, my son." When you're
I
watching
was going to
sport.
mention there it's a nice British saying there in
Yeah,
sports and yeah,
yeah,
probably American followers don't really understand what it
understand
meant.
it.
You
But
mentioned there that you were talking to people about how they got into the Suns. Obviously, we like to know how you got into the Suns and how you got into, following NBA and how you manage following a team from a different time zone.
yeah, so my introduction to basketball happened a long time ago now. One of my sister's boyfriends introduced me to the game. He played at like local area and stuff like that. And a bit like with football teams, you end up following your parents or a loved one. I followed suit. It was the only team that I knew.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I got into the Suns. And then internet come along. I remember rushing home to see who we drafted when we drafted Amari Stoudemire. I think one of the first games I remember on Sky Sports, I remember seeing Jason Kidd, and then about 2 weeks later, he got drafted to the Nets and things like that. So I've been around for a while.
Wow.
So yeah, it just went from there. I started the account, the original Suns Fans UK, back in about 2012, but that kind of I stopped doing it because I just found myself retweeting the Suns account. I was like, this is a waste of time, and my job changed, so I didn't have the time to commit to it. And
To be fair,
then
that must have been quite difficult given Twitter was quite new um,
yes,
at that
yeah,
stage.
there was I used to follow a guy called Paul Corro, who was a sports writer for one of the local newspapers over there. Greg Esposito, who is a local Suns personality. He used to work for the team, so I followed him. Mark Stein of the New York Post followed
Yeah,
him, and
yeah.
then yeah, that was it really. But yeah, I knocked that on the head for the bit, and then I started interacting with podcasts and things like that, and just through being a bit self-conscious, I wanted to keep it away from my normal account, so I re-upped the Suns Fans UK one, and the NBA UK fans guys got involved and connected with me and invited me into the fold there and to interact with everyone, and that's where it started. just kind of went from there. I do daily polls and things like that for games and results and stuff. So they're always fun to interact with. I just want to be a hub for Suns fans, really, because sometimes being a basketball fan, let alone a Suns fan, you feel like you're the only one. So that was kind of the goal. Managing, watching it from the UK. I mean, it's very rare that I stay up in the middle of the night to catch a 2 a.m., 3 a.m. game. I must admit, it's very, very rare. I've done it a couple of times in the playoffs. So I watched quite a few of the games live when we had our run to the finals, and stayed up with my oldest a couple of times to watch those. So that was quite fun. We watched all of the Denver series, every single game, because that was a 4-game sweep. So we were waking up in the middle of the night to come and watch those, because I was off work at the time, which was cool. But yeah, so I basically wake up in the mornings. I start work quite early, so I jump on about 6:30, check the results, and then prep my game day stuff from there, and then just catch the game when I can. I can't watch at work, so usually it's in the evenings, after kids clubs and God knows what else.
Don't worry, we haven't got your bosses listening in or anything.
No. I wish I had time to watch the Suns games. That'd be lovely. That would be good. I've definitely got enough screens to do it, but yeah, no, definitely haven't got the time. But yeah, I just run it from there. I do a weekly newsletter on my website, which is still sometimes UK, because I've just paid for the rights to keep that for the next few years.
God, yeah, no.
About 2 weeks before I lost the account. So yeah, I do that weekly. And I try and make sure it's out either on a Monday, or this week it's a Tuesday. I always give myself a bit of a gap if we haven't got a game on a Monday. But yeah, just once again, just to try and keep the interaction going, give people something to interact with, and just try and enjoy it.
I think I said it before that us UK fans deserve a bit of credit. I think sometimes we get dismissed by Americans on social media that we don't know about the game, but we have to put more time into it eventually to balance around our lives. Sam's
money.
a bit, yes, and money.
Yeah,
Sam's
true.
a bit, Sam's a bit mental, because he will follow NBA, NFL, and baseball, which leads me on to NFL. Sam, you are not a buddy at the moment. I said you could have a bit of time on this. How's things as an Eagles fan? Is it Eagles?
It is. Yeah, it's not great. They fell apart, and yeah, my favourite player, probably one of the greatest athletes in the city that the city's brought into, has just retired as well. So it's a sad day in Philadelphia, and for us Philadelphia sports fans, it's kind of same when a guy called Chase Utley retired, Allen Iverson. I assume when Dr. J retired as well. Brian Dawkins. So it's a real sad thing, yeah, really sad, and it was frustrating. I'm just glad the Sixers won yesterday on Martin Luther King Day, because otherwise it'd have been a very upsetting day if I had a back-to-back L's on a single day. And the reason why I wanted to mention NFL very quickly, because I don't want to talk about it anymore, and hopefully we sack coaches and we get a good one in like the Sixers have done.
Plus, it's a basketball podcast.
It is.
Let's remember that. Yeah.
But the similarities are we can hopefully get a good coach in, because that's what the Sixers have done, and they look a lot better now. They've got a legit coach in Nick Nurse. It's becoming a common theme for me that they're interrupting the NBA games. I don't remember in my fandom, very similar to Mark in 2000s, mid 2000s and stuff, trying to watch it. Don't remember us playing on Thanksgiving, but NFL sneaking on the sort of the historic NBA games, Martin Luther King Day, Christmas Day. I think it's a bit naughty of them, and then they're taken away and they're getting the limelight in America. They're also then getting the limelight in Sky Sports, which means it's hard to grow the game at other levels. And I know you wanted to talk about growing the game at the youth level here and people buying into the fandom, but I don't think the NFL are helping the NBA trying to grow the sport worldwide, because if you own the rights to the NFL playoffs, you're going to show those games over a regular season NBA game, and with it being such a short season, so and most people are going to buy the main sports package, which, let's be honest, I probably know more people that own Sky Sports package than I know people that own TNT package or the old BT package. and that's how you're going to get you fans in. TikTok and all that will help, obviously, but to watch a live game.
I think over here as well, I normally bump into people that follow NFL quite a bit. But I bet I rarely, if ever in person bump into. I know it's a difficult or just a random subject to bring up to someone, but I haven't bumped into an NBA fan. It's interesting you mentioned about NFL trying to take things from the NBA. Have you heard recently about the NBA turning the draft into a 2-day event to replicate the NFL? So they're probably they're trying to compete with each other in certain ways. You know, obviously the in-season tournament, Silver's brought that out, and we mentioned a few weeks back that we think that's to create a bit of an edge early season NBA to pick up some ratings when, you know, everyone's talking about the NFL at that sort of time, and like I say, Thanksgiving and all the rest of it. So I think it's a bit of to and fro in, if you ask me.
I don't know much about it, but I know that the NFL is so big though that it'll trump any sport that's on. So yeah, it's taking viewership away from the NBA, which, as Sam said, is quite a sad prospect for us in the UK where we're trying to grow it.
But the thing is, I always say that NBA is a bigger global sport. Well, basketball is a bigger global sport. NFL is very, you know, American followed, wrong term for that, but it's followed more in America than anywhere else. Obviously, there's hotspots of other countries following it, but how many other American football leagues are there? Big leagues around the world. You know, basketball's massive in Europe. It's quite big in Asia too. And you got the World Cup and that. There's no, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, Sam, but there's no NFL or American Football World Cup.
No, they're getting
Countries
they're getting the tag American football in the Olympics soon. But yeah, no, you're right. But the thing is, NFL play games in other countries, and obviously here in London, you got that every year. And I think the NBA were missing a thing like the last game. I think here was it the Sixers Celtics was the last game, which was awful because it was our home game. But that like we need to get that game back, and I get we can't be selfish. You know, Paris deserve the games as well. You know, the French do, but we need more of those games, and it's easier for my team being an East Coast team for me to have a 6 p.m. tip off, but for you to grow. I suppose from our perspective, it doesn't matter what team sport we want to see more NBA. Like if I'm in the gym and I see someone with a jersey on, I will sometimes ask them. Baseball hats, it's hard to tell. NFL, you're right. You know if they've got an NFL jersey on, they're going to support that team. With basketball, it's like they just like the colours or the player.
I think any hat is hard because one of my best friends always wears a Lakers hat and a Bulls hat, and he does not watch any basketball whatsoever. So I think hats is quite difficult. I think it was really cool what you mentioned, Matt, about staying up with your eldest to watch playoff games. I was up with my, at the time, 3-month-old doing night feeds watching the playoffs lives this year. And I know Sam, your eldest, is at a point now where he can watch games. So I wanted to touch on sort of, you know, the next generation of, you know, UK fans. It's our job to try and, I don't want to say push our hobbies onto our children, because you try and do that and it sort of maybe turn them away. But, you know, they're only going to replicate the environment they're in. And I want to know what, you know, both of you, what your take was and how your children are taking on your hobbies and interest in the sport of NBA.
You go first, Matt.
Who wants to go first?
You want me to go first? All right, yeah. So, well, basketball for me is the biggest sport. So I follow that over the Premiership. There are pictures of my little boy. He had a Phoenix Suns jersey when he was like 1, 2. And then my youngest, who's a boy as well, he had the same one. And there's pictures of both of them wearing it. So they've always been around it. But just because I've always followed it. And then I would take them to play basketball. We've got a basketball hoop in the garden, which was for my son, of course.
So,
but yeah, I mean, my eldest, he is obsessed with sports. He prefers football, which is fine, and that's all he talks about. But he's very fortunate. He's just started secondary school, and the school actually has a academy that plays in the EABL, which is elite youth basketball league or something along those lines. So he's working towards getting into that. So they do just an after school club at the moment, plus they have a school league which is just played between year 7s and 8s. So he gets to play twice a week plus PE if they do it, and then it's basically grooming those younger kids into trying to get into the varsity team for them, and they've got a complete separate coach and everything like that. But my wife likes it as well. Ever since we were just sort of going out, we go to GB games. She'd come and watch me play all the time, and we used to have a local D3 team, so we used to go see them as well. So yeah, it kind of runs in the family because they all like it. My daughter isn't so fussed about it. She likes the idea of it. She likes to come and play with us if we go to the park and play it, but she's not enamored with it. But the boys, yeah, they do like it, and I'm not a pushy dad. We'll go out and play together, and I'll try and make sure my son's shooting correctly and following all the footsteps correct. And I was giving him some advice because he had a little game and that just teaching a little pump fake and stuff, because I said, have they taught you that yet? And he was like, no. I was like, right, you're gonna do this. But if he said to me, Dad, I never want to play basketball again, I don't care, it's fine, it's up to him. But yeah, it's difficult also with the time difference, as we mentioned before, because I'll sit and watch the game on my phone instead of, because I haven't got it on the telly, so it's quite difficult to share that with them. So, but I often send in clips and stuff on WhatsApp if I'm at work. I'll watch this, or like I sent him KD's dunk the other night on it. I think it was Anthony Simons and stuff. But he loves Steph Curry as well. Steph Curry's his favourite. Of course, Steph Curry's every kid's favourite. And he's
not my favourite, but
no. But all the kids like him. He's got some Steph Curry shoes and stuff like that. But yeah, he's got a pretty good jersey collection as well going on, which I'm quite proud of.
Nice. You, Sam?
Yeah. So my kids are named after Callum. My eldest middle name's Iverson, so he's named after him, because if the Ash Cloud didn't happen in Iceland and we didn't get stuck and Allen Iverson didn't return, me and my now wife wouldn't have been in Philadelphia to watch the Sixers. So yeah, he's hit and miss with it, because he has also got autism, so it's a bit tougher for him. But he likes football. Football I like as well. I coach his team. I'm probably a bit pushy with that, if I'm honest, but only because I've dedicated to it to prepare things and things like that. So it winds me up if he doesn't want to then participate at that particular time, and obviously it's a lot of time and effort. Basketball wise, he likes watching it, and he tried playing for the school team, but our school's been quite poor, even though they've got a real nice facility for it now. From when I was there, he don't really play. My middle son, again, he'll watch it, not so much playing wise, but he'll watch little clips and stuff. He likes to like you say, the dunks and stuff like that. He likes to watch, and he likes like a bit of aggression, to be honest. So he likes seeing like the basketball fights. Like he showed me the original Shaq and Barkley fight, and was like, look at this, because he was on like TikTok or something. And I was quite proud of that, even though it was probably not an appropriate thing for an 8-year-old to show me and be like, look at this. But I was like, oh, at least he's like showing a bit of interest, and knows who Shaq is. So yeah, and then my youngest, his middle name's Joel. So yeah, so they've got it in their blood. They've got Sixers stuff. My mates in America who I stay with and stuff, they buy them loads of stuff and send it over, or when I'm over there bringing stuff back for them. My mate John, who's the godparent to the youngest, he sends a lot of stuff over, or buys it and stuff. So they're quite lucky. I've been to like 20 odd games over the last 10 years, so I'm always out there pretty much trying to get stuff. So they always get merchandise, and they'll rock it, the woolly hats and stuff they've been wearing. But yeah, so they're kind of there, but they're not dedicated yet, unfortunately. But like you say, I don't want to push it on them either, Matt. I'm very much let that happen. What about you, Glenn? You gonna be pushy, Dad?
Well, it's to be confirmed what Huxley takes to. This household is full of basketball for October to June. Then it's cricket from April to September, and it's football from August to May. So there's sports all year round. I'll let him dip into it as he gets older and watch it and expose him to it, and just see if he takes to any of them. I'll take him to Southampton games for football. Being a Southampton fan, we have got a local D2 team with the Solent Kestrels for basketball, so I'll take him to that, and I'll take him to Hampshire Hawks game and possibly England games for cricket, and then see if he likes any of them. And if he does, great. If he doesn't, like you say, you know, I think once you start being a bit pushy with it, it sort of turns them off a little bit. So I don't really want to do that. But he's just essentially he's going to grow up surrounded by it. So I'll let you know in 5-6 years' time if we do this again in that time how he's getting on with things. But like you mentioned, Sam, it's a bit harder for us Western Conference fans with timings and that. But I watch it in the morning, or I try and watch playoffs live. So on to the Western Conference, we obviously want to bring you on, Matt, to talk about your son's team, and we'll sort of leave you to guide us as being the expert. But how do you feel the season's gone so far, health wise, and how the roster's shaping up? Given I didn't write you guys off at the start of the season, but I sort of kept saying how you were very top heavy with your big three, and you didn't have a lot going on behind the scenes, a bit like a swan. You know, it looks beautiful on the top of the water, but on the underneath the water, not so pretty. So yeah, how do you think it's going?
It's been a real mixed bag. The big three, as everyone calls it. I hate using that term, but I do use it.
You have it, so
yeah, we have it. So yeah, fair enough. But they've only played 11 games together. I think the 11th game is tonight. So 10. So it still feels like we're quite at the beginning of the season. For me, that's how I'm seeing it. I know, obviously, being that we're on social media a lot, the whole world melts down if your team loses and then they're the best team in the league again when they win again. But yeah, it's still a bit of an experiment. The tough bit is that we're about to face quite a lot of playoff teams, which isn't good if we're trying to experiment stuff. Now, the team build, yeah, it is top heavy, but I feel that the pieces were brought in specifically to play around those guys. And where we've had so few games with all three of them, it's been hard for the roster to mesh properly. There's been some disappointments, I'd say. So we need another backup centre, basically, because Drew Eubanks just isn't cutting it at the moment. Most lineups he's a part of are a minus, unfortunately. So we're going from a plus with Nurkic.
My question would be, why is Bobo not getting more minutes?
Well, he is.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Bobo.
So exactly, yeah. So he came on for one game and played like 10, 15 minutes and showed a bit of a flash of some bits. And essentially, I think someone asked Vogel at the end, like, why now? And he's like, well, he's finally following the game plan. So he'll staying. And yeah, he's been really impressive. I think when I checked, he's only played one game this week because he sprained his ankle. Yeah, slight leg injury. He drove across the lane, stood on someone's foot, got the and and then went from there. So he hasn't played much, but he's shooting about 60 something percent on overall field goal, I think. And I think he's only taken about 3 or 4.
When you say shooting, I've mentioned this before that term's very loose when it comes to big guys, isn't it?
Yeah, well, he's thrown it up in the air. He hasn't actually dunked it all that much, but he's got a nice touch around the basket, like really soft, which is nice. And he can shoot the three. He hasn't got a quick release, so he does need the space. But I think he's hit more than he's missed, put it that way, of the few that he's taken. So he's really promising. And actually, I'm glad you brought him up because it was a point I was going to make, but I'd actually forgotten in my ramble. But Vogel actually brought him up after the Blazers game on Sunday because we struggled in that game, which we shouldn't have, and said, not having Bowl there did impact our bench. So it seems like he's worked his way into a really good position. He's probably our maybe 7th or 8th man now. So a solid, 15, 20 minutes a night, depending on the matchup. But yeah, it's been good to watch actually, because I was not, for me, I'd only seen the clips on social media. I'd never seen him in the game, and I was just kind of like, I don't trust it. And obviously last year he played about 17 minutes with the Magic, but they just let him walk. So I was a bit like, okay, that's sort of danger signs for me. I don't like to see that. But no, I've been impressed, yeah, for what I saw, and I'm
Well, I
always
saw
very
Bobo
cautious.
play a year or so ago, and for me, Bobo walked so Wembanyama could run.
Fair, fair.
He is a very elegant 7 footer, to be honest, and it's a
Yeah.
shame he hasn't broke through like I thought he had a bit more potential, but I guess like he's been moved around and
I think he
different
should have stayed
coaches.
in. Yeah, I think he should have stayed in college longer. He only did a year. I think if
Mm.
Yeah,
he'd
that
been
yeah.
I think if he'd been a 2 or 3 year guy coming in like now, I think he'd have been fine. But if you need to be nurtured quite a bit once you get to the pros, they haven't got time to hang around for that. And that was part of my worry about him joining our team, because to basically make the roster spot for him, we traded away Campaign, who was our backup point guard.
Yeah.
And so I was worried about that. But I mean, obviously, when you've got Beal and Booker, you don't need another point guard. There's, despite what the national media are saying, you don't. That's why I don't know if you saw it. I was retweeting what JJ Redick was saying on that subject. But overall, I try and keep it even keel. To be honest, when it comes to the team, I mean, I've watched. I call the whole sort of 2012 through to about 2019. I think it was when we started winning some games. I call that the dark ages, and I still watched. I still was a fan then. So I'm just basking in the glory of having 3 all-star MVP caliber players
Yeah.
on this team. Yet we've got some work to do, I think, around the peripherals. Grayson Allen, I was not a fan at all of him. I'd seen
Dirty
what he'd
player.
done. Yeah, exactly. But I've been super impressed. He's probably
Yeah,
been our most consistent player.
I'd agree.
Career
I'd agree.
highs across the board.
Yeah.
You saw flashes of it with Milwaukee, but they've given him so much more freedom on this team. He's just been fantastic. I think he's second or third in the NBA with 3-point shooting
Yeah, he's
percentage.
slotted in very quickly with
Mm.
yourselves. One thing I wanted your take on as well is how the perception of, I've been a Laker fan, what the perception of Frank Vogel was in his first few months.
Um, so when he first come along, I think it was quite positive. We all knew that he'd be a very different coach to Monty Williams, who was all about, making a family atmosphere, which he's done. Like, you've got to credit him for that. And I think he's got a massive job in front of him in Detroit, of course. But that team will benefit from having him there. In terms of Vogel, he's got the championship experience. I think the big thing is that with the offense that you knew that we were going to have, I mean, you can't have those 3 players and not have a high-powered offense. The defense was going to be the focus, and it is. He runs a very difficult system, from what I understand.
Yeah.
I'm not great at following defensive schemes. I'm better at following the offensive schemes. But from what you see, Jokic would be expected to guard the hoop and then within a second be out of the 3-point line and things like that. So it's quite a demanding one. I think he should have simplified it when we were missing loads of players and things like that. And I think that's where some of the problems have been. People getting used to that. But overall, I think he's been good. I think the only thing that I've said negatively so far is he should have, when we had just Booker and Durant and Beal were out for a few games, he should have switched up the lineups a bit sooner and put some hustle players in. So Chemezi Metu has been getting more minutes now. The addition of Bol to the lineup and stuff like that, he should have done that a few games sooner. But apart from that, I think, yeah, okay so far. I think he's got us pretty well organised rotation wise. You see it's quite a strict one. So Bill was coming out partway through the first and then coming back in at the end of the first quarter, which is quite a rarity for a superstar player. They usually go out at the end of the first quarter and don't come back till the beginning of the second and things like that, which was similar to Booker's rotation, but obviously they're having to stagger those guys quite a bit. I would say there's not been really any close games at the end, apart from the New York game, where Booker hit that 3 to win, and that was a lovely play. Whether they're Vogel or whether they're Kevin Young, who is our associate head coach, who was with the team last year and the year before as well. is another
Our
thing.
in-season tournament was pretty close. If you remember.
See, we've played you
Because
guys so many times. Get so confused with which one's
we got the
ICTs.
tiebreaker. We got the tiebreaker now with I think it's 3-1 in the series.
Yeah, I think we will end up playing each other a fifth time as well because of that. Because
Essentially.
of the
But I think
yeah, it's like
pre-season.
I've got
We
your
played
screenshot,
each other
'cause I was gonna ask about. I was looking at the next few games for you. So just anything I wanted to ask is, I can see there's no back-to-backs till next week by the looks of it, if I've got my time zone in right. So I wanted to check that. So I'm expecting, when I see the highlights, to see all three play the next couple of games. Is that what you're expecting as well, or is there like a well known that in a week you're only going to have a, thanks to Nick Nurse probably from the Toronto, so I think that was the first sort of major thing of, oh, I only play Cry once or twice a week. Is that, do you think that's what's happening at the moment, where you're not going to have all big three playing?
no, I'm expecting them to all be there. I don't think anyone's under any minute restrictions now or anything like that. So yeah, I mean, I do a predictions league, so I've predicted that we'll win all three games this week, hopefully. The only players we've got missing at the moment is Bol. He's still out with his sprained ankle, and Damien Lee, but he's out for the whole season. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
agree.
Well, I think
I think you beat the
sum up, I
Kings,
think
definitely.
you're hitting a bit of stability now. Probably looking a bit more positive. I hope it's not too positive, because you are a rival of ours and we're sort of near
Well,
you.
we're both fighting for that playing spot at the moment.
We are. So one of the players you mentioned there is it Metu?
Oh, I knew
Sam,
you were going to ask.
You heard Matt pronounce that, but that's not the player that I'm going to ask you to pronounce. For the camera.
Eula Wantabe.
What? Okay. Good
Wantabe?
effort.
Wantabe?
Do you want to correct him, Matt?
It's Yuta Watanabe.
Watanabe,
Yes.
there we go.
Good attempt. Right. We'll do a quick X's and O's. Matt, you're going to have little time to
Pressure.
give your reaction and response. So number one, we just mentioned them quite a bit. Suns' big three will all be healthy come the playoffs.
Oh.
Wow, that was quick. And
Yeah, you've got to have faith. You've got to have faith.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that. Nice and quick. Number two, Charles Barkley is the greatest player to put on a Suns uniform.
X.
Ooh.
Are you on the Steve Nash camp?
Yeah, as much as I love Barkley, Steve Nash is my era. And I'm just going to say it now, by the time Book gets to the end of his career, he could potentially be the best Sun ever. He's almost there already, to be honest.
Well, that leads me into my third one. But the reason I put that second one is I was reading up about there's a bit of a split between Barkley and Nash. Obviously, Barkley took you to the finals, but Nash was there longer. He won 2 MVPs and arguably should have won maybe a third consecutive one. So there's always, it seems to be, from what I've read upon, there's a bit of a balance to Suns
for
fans.
me, it's one of those weird things. Is Barkley a better player? Was he? Yes. Was he a better Sun? No.
That's a good way of putting
it.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Well, this should be an easy last one for you then.
Oh.
Devin Booker will not make All NBA first team again in his playing career.
X. He will make it again, not this season. And he probably won't actually while we've still got Durant and Beal on the team, because it'll be the whole. It'll be that, a bit like when even with CP3, it was kind of like, oh, one of them's carrying the other. He's only as good as he is because of Chris Paul. So we'll still have that now. Now it'll be, even if he's scoring 30 odd a game, which he nearly is. I think he's averaging 6 rebounds, 7 assists or something stupid like that. Which really, if you look back at previous years, they're like MVP type numbers. But because it'll be, well, he's got Durant and Beal helping him, that just won't happen.
Yeah.
We see it with all teams that have got multiple all-stars on. In a way, they drag each other down. But I think when you build teams like that, I don't think those players really care about that. They care about the chip at the end of the year. So yeah, but yeah, X, he'll definitely get one in his career again, but not for a while, I don't think.
I guess the only reason why I think he may not is because of, the plethora of talent within the league. So it's very, very difficult. You only get 15 players essentially to put in those teams, and there's just so much talent, and there's going to be more talent coming into the league over the years. So it's always going to be difficult.
But I think Curry's going, Clay's obviously done. So
true, yeah, there are some people obviously leaving the league.
Yeah, because Curry will make it because of the love that people have for him. Like you said earlier, Matt, with your son, like he's still loved by a lot of the community, and he gets a lot of all-star votes and stuff, even though he might not necessarily deserve it. Same with potentially LeBron, but although what he's doing at his age is freakish. But yeah,
Ridiculous.
I think you're going to see that. So I actually agree with Matt. I think he will make another one. Just to throw my 2 cents.
Nice. No, thank you. No, and thanks. Yeah, that was fun. So thanks, Matt. Thanks for your time today. Sam, do you wanna lead us out?
Yes, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, and follow us on social media, because our Twitter is blowing up now. We have 200 followers.
200 followers.
Yeah, not quite as good as
Well
Matt's,
done, boys.
Matt's peak yet, but we're getting there. And our Twitter
Well,
handle
I don't want to get kicked off 1,000 followers if I do any copyright.
Well, that's the thing. Don't get to that point.
Don't get to that point. Don't get too.
Although you got Twitter Blue, so you're all right. I think you'll be okay.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, we did invest in that. Yeah,
we pay to keep Elon Musk at bay.
Happy. Yeah,
that's it.
So, the handle is at With the English #1, because we're the only one podcast called With the English. Cheers, guys.
How to put English on the basketball.